Welcome to the video. Today's video is inspired by a comment I got yesterday from Mantis. Apologies if that's not pronounced right. And he's asking about stud walls and mainly like hanging stuff off stud walls. Worried about electrical wires, water pipes, just for DIYs if they want to mount shelves and TVs. So I'll run through everything straight off the top of my head without too much knowledge. When it comes to finding studs in your wall, studs are always just going to be everywhere. There is a few things you can do that will help you out, and it will come down to GPOs and light switches and partitions in walls. Now I'll show you what I mean with the partitions and the electrical. I'll take you for a little walk. So this wall here, I'm going to show you what I mean by partitions. Here's another wall here, internal wall. So I know I've got a stud here and I've also got a stud here. So I'm guaranteed there'll be a stud on that side and that side. And then there will always be a stud next to light switches like this, like up against door jambs. And then more likely than not with your GPOs, there's either going to be a stud on this side or this side, because that GPO base plate will be nailed to either side of the stud. So just how I showed you those partitions, all I do with the tape measure, is just go around the corner and measure. So I've got 350 there, and then I'd come off 350, and then I should have a stud right there, and then that's a good reference point. Now after that, normally studs are at 600 centers and 450s, but I would never go off that. There's no guarantee that they're going to be exactly at 600 centers the whole way. Now if you're lucky enough for what you're hanging will be a shelf or a TV unit that will go across longer than 600 mil, then there's guaranteed to be a stud at least within that area there. And the item that you're putting up as shelving is going to be backing the whole way through. I would just use a hammer and a nail, and I would go along and keep hitting holes until I find a spot. You're going to have holes there, but if you're going to be covering those holes with the item that you're installing, then it's no worries. But before I'd go putting nails into the wall, you can actually just use a hammer. And if you actually tap, there's actually a bit of a noise difference there, and I reckon there's a stud right there. So you can actually hear the studs when it's really hollowy. When you hit that plasterboard, there'll be nothing there. Then when it's nice and firm and it feels like the sound vibration is hitting, you can actually tell there's a timber member there, then that's a good starting point. Now, if you came to a point where you can only fix, say, in 2 locations, but you are able to move it back and forward, and then you're hoping that you could find one stud, it'll cost money, but I just recommend a stud finder. So I've got this Bosch one. I think I paid 150 bucks for it. Oh. I was trying to find the studs on here, and I actually remember now when I renovated this place that this actually has battens running vertically, which is not common at all. And I was wondering why I couldn't find anything when I was going this way, but if I go up high enough, I've got one the whole way. So stud finders are worth it. Like, you just can't beat it, but obviously understanding DIYs might not have the money. So those few other methods that I said at the start would be your go-to. Now, let's say you've exhausted everything, all your options, and you still have to put something into the plasterboard and you need some type of wall fixing. This would be my only recommendation, is these Ramset screws. So they do require a tool. So it's like a setting tool for it. You want to back off the screw about that much for the setting tool. Sit it in the setting tool like that. Give it a crank. And then see how it's making that big, I guess, clamp that will sit on the back of the plasterboard. And then you can actually unscrew this. And then this part here will be actually behind the plasterboard. And then this screws in. And then that will hold. I'll put up on the left, right here, how many kilos it actually holds, because I don't know off the top of my head, but this is the only one that I would personally use for anything if I had to do it. But I'd never really want to rely on these things. So these are other common plugs, but these are only for masonry or brickwork, so this won't work in any type of plasterboard. So say you come to the point where you've got some studs, maybe you've hit 3 or 4 out of maybe 6 you were hoping for. I'd recommend, even if you just missed one, or even if you still hit one, better be safe than sorry, I'd use some liquid nails. or just some type of glue up behind what you're using, the shelf or cabinet. You don't want to risk it. And if you're going to be using setting tools, definitely do that. But sometimes these setting tools are handy for in the bathroom. And if you're going to be using any type of towel rails or toilet roll holders, just a little bit of silicone behind it up against the tile if it's tiled, or even if it's Villa board, will do the trick. That will help just give it that little bit more grab. Now I wanted to show you all the options what I would personally do, but as a DIYer, if you're really thinking about doing this, I'd really consider just getting a professional in. Like the saying goes, the poor man pays twice. The last thing you want to do is put everything up there and then the TV falls off or the cabinet shelf falls down. Just better off just getting it done properly the first time. Another thing that I personally like to do when I'm building, I'll always make sure while I'm with the client to make sure if they ever want to put any, even if it's just one picture, or they know they want to hang something up in the future, maybe they might not want to do it straight away, but if it's going to be in the future, I always recommend, let's put some blocking there. It takes 2 seconds, just one extra bit of timber there is just going to go a long, long way. Now, when it comes to plumbing and electrical, more often than not, your electrical is always going to be dropped from the ceiling down. And it's going to be like halfway between your studs. So if you have about a 70mm wall, you're more likely not going to hit it. But still, there is nearly no way that you can avoid knowing where they are. Just one other tip, say if you do have all your studs and say you've got it all blocked out, you're all prepared for it, and you wanted to hang a TV up there, get some blue tape and actually tape it to the back of the TV mount. So say this is the back of your TV mount, actually use a pen and say that's going to be the hole here, and then you take this off the back of your TV mount or whatever it is that you want to hang, and you know exactly where you want to go, and then bam, that's up there like that. Get your drill, pre-drill, gone, and then that's your exact locations rather than trying to muck around and measure. You can actually use this as well and set up a laser to get this nice and level, and if you just get it a little bit wrong, take it down and try again. You only get one shot when you drill your holes, so always better to prevention rather than the other thing. I don't know what the other thing's called. I hope you got something out of it. Just a quick little video. Maybe in the future I might go into a heap more detail on it. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.